Alright guys, today I'm going to give you my Premier League predictions for the 25-26 Premier League season. Let's go! So I am filming this on August 14th, one day before the Premier League kicks off. So I have a good idea of how the teams are shaping up and how they look like. I'm trying to get this out before the start, but it's close on time right now. I'm crunching up the numbers, but I'm here to give you it right before the season starts. We'll see how else the teams change. As far as right now, August 14th, this is all the knowledge I have so far of how the squads are set up and what transfers have been done. Obviously, the transfer window is still open for another 2 weeks or so, so we'll see what other moves the Premier League clubs do, because you know to spend more money. It's the biggest league in the world for a reason, so we'll see. But as of right now, this is how I think the Premier League for the 25-26 season is going to go. All right, so let's just jump right into it. In the relegation zone, it was really hard not to put all three of the promoted teams. I know that's been pretty common in the last few seasons, the three that go up right away. I don't think that's going to be the exact thing this season, although I do have two teams promoted that are going to go back down, in my opinion. You know, who's better than three? But in my relegation zone, I have Burnley finishing 20th. I have Wolves finishing 19th. And I have Leeds finishing 18th. I think out of the three promoted teams, Burnley is the worst out of the three. I don't think they have the capabilities of staying up. And in this Premier League, it is very hard to stay up based on all the quality and all the teams. In terms of Wolves, I think they lost 2 out of 3 of their best players. Obviously, they lost Cunha to United. They lost Ait-Nouri to Man City. I just don't think the squad is good enough to stay up. Last season, they finished just above the relegation zone. And I think losing 2 of their best players, and they haven't really replaced them too well. So I do think they're going to end up being relegated. In terms of Leeds, I know a lot of Premier League fans want Leeds to stay up because they're a staple. That's Barclays football. But I don't see it. They do have Daniel James on their team. Shout out to Daniel James. He was a great servant for United. But bar from that, I don't see them staying up. I think Sunderland's just a little bit better than them. It's going to be a toss-up. I think, honestly, it could be a toss-up between Leeds and Sunderland for whoever goes down. Honestly, all three can go down. But when I look at the squads, I feel like Leeds and Burnley and Wolverhampton are just a little bit worse than 17th through 16th, 15th. So, yeah, wrapping the relegation zone, Burnley, Wolverhampton, and Leeds. Sorry, Leeds fans. Sorry, Burnley fans. Maybe next season, I should say. The next section I'm going to do is 17th through 13th. So the lower mid-table, close to relegation zone, but just doing enough to stay up in the league. As you can probably guess, in 17th, I have Sunderland. I think out of the 3 promoted teams, they've done the best business and the most business out of the 3. And sometimes that doesn't always work out. Just because you buy a multitude of players doesn't mean that guarantees you that you're going to stay in the Prem. But I do think the squad is good enough to stay up. Obviously, they lost their best players in Joe Bellingham over the summer. But I think they've invested well in the squad. And I do think they're going to have just enough to stay in. And Sunderland is one of those teams that it's league history, Barclays football. And seeing them compete against Newcastle, those are going to be a good watch for sure. Just above Sunderland, I have West Ham United. Shout out to Spencer FC, but I don't think West Ham are going to have that good of a season. I think 16th is an okay position to be at based on their form recently in recent years. I think they've been subpar, and I think all the other teams have gotten better and kind of surpassed West Ham. Just above West Ham in 15th, I have Bournemouth. Now, this might be a shock, but is it really? Obviously, last season they had a great season. I believe, obviously, having Bournemouth this low might be a shock to some people. Obviously, last season they did have a good season. They beat many of the top teams. They smacked United. They beat City. They beat Arsenal. I don't know if they beat Liverpool, but they had very good results and very hard team to break down. But in turn, just like most people have said in other Premier League predictions and other videos, Bournemouth lost their whole back line. Their whole part of the most of their team. They lost the whole thing. They lost Zambroni. They lost Dean Huijsen. It's really hard to compete when the quality of players that you did have in defense, you no longer have. They still have a good team with Semenyo up top, Evan Nielsen, but I don't think it's going to be enough to compete to a similar position they were in last season. Similar to the team I have just above them, I think both this team and Bournemouth can flip-flop. I have Brentford. Now, Brentford are in a similar situation to Bournemouth. They lost their manager, they lost their captain, they lost their best player. And there's still reports they might lose Wissa too, which is probably their second best player. Obviously losing Thomas Frank, Norgard, and Buemo, and maybe Wissa still. We'll see what happens. But yeah, you pretty much lost your whole of your team, and just can't see them. Last season they finished 10th. I just can't see them replicating that, and I think they're going to drop down a couple spots. Not enough to be relegated, but they're going to be just above the relegation zone. Moving on to 13th, I put Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest had a great season last season. I applaud them. You know, any Nottingham Forest fans out there, you should be excited. Finishing 7th in the Premier League for Nottingham Forest is a great achievement. Last season they had with Chris Wood banging in the goals, Alanga doing his work on the wing, and Morgan Gibbs. See their defense with Murillo, Ola Aina, some of the best performing players in the league last season. Obviously, Morgan Gibbs White pretty close to joining Spurs. I remember the Here We Go was there, and then it wasn't there anymore. It was a very odd thing. It was a very odd situation, but I do think keeping him was very vital to Nottingham Forest's success for next season. Obviously, losing Alanga is going to hurt, but you still have Hudson-Odoi and Chris Wood, so I think that's enough to carry the attack and get some goals. Although last season they did finish 7th, I just can't see them replicating that. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe this. Moving on to the next section, mid-table sort of section, from 12th to 8th. At 12th, Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace is one of those that's still up in the air. As of right now, they still have Eze, they still have Mark Guahi. They just beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, so they still have a very good squad. I think they have a very good coach as well, and they still have quality around. They still have Mateta up front. They still have Henderson in goal. They still have Adam Wharton in midfield. I think those are some of the most underrated players in the Premier League. And Crystal Palace has a whole bunch of them, and I think them as a squad is great. I mean, you can see why they're able to the FA Cup and the Community Shield, which is great. I'm happy for them. And they're going to be in Europe next season. They're able to keep Mark Guahi and Eze. I do think they're going to finish around here, which is actually exactly where they finished last season, now that I'm looking at it. But if they lose Eze and Mark Guahi, which are probably the two best players with Adam Wharton, I don't know. I feel like they a couple more positions lower. We'll see, because then Spurs are interested in Eze, and then Liverpool interested in Mark Guahi. So we'll see. But as of right now, I'm putting them 12th. Just above Crystal Palace in 11th place, I have Fulham. Now, Fulham is one of those teams that hold a special place in my heart. You know, they've had some of my favorite players like Clinton Dempsey. Right now they have Raul Jimenez. Shout out. They still have Emil Smith-Rowe. They have quality throughout the pitch, and you can see it. You can see it in the results last season. I have the table up from last season to try to compare the two, see how similar I am. And honestly, I think they're going to finish the same exact position that they did last season. I think the team didn't get too much worse. Haven't really added too many players. Haven't really made too much business in transfer window, but I do think their squad is still good to compete and get around the 10th, 11th spot. So I'm going to keep them for 11th this season. Now, moving on to 10th, I have Brighton. Now, Brighton was one of those teams that you can never really count out. They're always very consistent ever since they've been promoted to the Premier League. They are one of the most well-run clubs in the league. And honestly, I might even say in the world, the way they're able to get talent and produce it and then sell it and then buy more talent and do this. It's a great system they got over there, a project that's working. I don't think this season is going to be as good as others. Obviously, I think they lost one of their best players in João Pedro. They might lose Baleba in midfield, which is a player for them. We'll see how that materializes. But I think 10th is a good spot for them just because of how consistent they are. And going away at Brighton is never an easy game. Never an easy game. Moving on to 9th place. And this might surprise some people. I know in the teams I said so far, they're like, I feel like you're missing one. I feel like this team should have been said before. I don't know. They haven't really been good of recent. You know, they almost got relegated. But in 9th place, I have Everton. Last season they finished 13th, so being 9th maybe isn't the biggest difference, but I think it is, considering where Everton years, you know, always being relegated, the charges against them, the club with managers and players not wanting to be there. I think they finally found something that's stable, and I think they're gonna have one of their better seasons in a while. Obviously, just of late, they were able to get Jack Grealish on loan, and I do think he's gonna ball out for them. You know, the pressure's off of him. His football probably have a more free role than he did at City. And I think he's gonna do something similar that he did to at Aston Villa. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but I think having that quality of player, Jack Grealish, in this Everton side with David Moyes and already Moyes, I think they have a structure, especially from last season. You can see that they have a structure of play. And I do think that adding Grealish to that will just give it a different element. And it'll be exciting to see some excitement at Everton. You know, I feel like they're one of the most established clubs in England, and I think it's good when they're doing good. In 8th place, I have Aston Villa. Over the recent years, Aston Villa has always been a very good team in the Prem. They've been around the 6, 7 places of the Premier League. I think this year they're going to drop down just a little bit. As of today, it looks like Jacob Ramsey finalized the deal to go to Newcastle United. So I think that's going to be a pretty big miss for them. Obviously, he wasn't always a starter, but he was a very good player to have. And there's also reports of Leon Bailey leaving on loan. So I do think that's going to affect the squad a little bit, but we'll see if they're able to make any more moves before the transfer window ends. But I think 8th is a good spot to put Aston Villa. Okay, moving on to the latter half of the table. In 7th place, I have I don't know what I'm doing. I got Newcastle United. You know, I know some Newcastle fans might be upset. What do you mean we got Champions League last season? We were in 5th. We were probably one of the better teams in the league. How are you going to drop us out of the top 5, top 4 into 7th? And although Newcastle hasn't had the most ideal summer transfer window, I think they still have made some decent signings. You know, Rams there in goal. They just bought Malik Tah, German center back from AC Milan, who's pretty good. They just finalized the deal for Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa. One more. And then obviously they got Alenga from Nottingham Forest. So those are all very good signings. You know, obviously 3 of them are Premier League proven defender in there, so it's good to get Malik Tah in there. I do think, and I know many people, you've probably seen a lot of people say this, Isak doesn't want to play for them. He's training individually. He told them, he's like, I want to play for Liverpool. I do not want to be here. It's honestly a pretty strange sight. I do think obviously that's going to affect them. He's by far their best player. They still have a very good team, but he's the main star in that team. Him, I think 7th is a good position for them because they still probably have a better squad than Aston Villa or Brighton or Everton, Fulham. They still have a better squad than them, but they're not going to be as competitive against the top 6 if they lose Isak, especially if he eventually or ends up going to Liverpool. We'll see what happens with that. But I think 7th is a good spot for Newcastle. It's going to be interesting to see because they are in Champions this season, so I don't know if that's going to affect them a little bit, but I'm going to put them 7th. Okay, moving on to 6th place, I got the mighty Spurs. Now, I'm filming this a day after they lost the Super Cup to PSG, and honestly, Spurs surprised me. They played very compact. I think they defended well against PSG, and they didn't let them do their game. Obviously, not until the end. You know Spurs being Spurs, and they showed a lot of good signs of promise. And I think Thomas Frank is a very good manager. Premier League proven. He's the reasons why Brentford has had so much success in the recent years. And I think him already knowing how the league works, knowing the competition, him going to a bigger club, I think he's going to do very well there. I think Spurs have had a pretty good transfer window as well. Obviously, they finalized the deal for Kevin Danso in defense. They finalized the deal for Mateus Tell. Obviously, the main one they did by Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. I think he's going to be a baller for them. And they're in talks to buy Eberechi Eze. Now, if Spurs get Eze, and I think Eze is one of the most talented players in the Prem. If they get Eze, I can easily see him being top 5, top 4. I can see him probably moving up a spot. I don't know about top 4, but I do think Eze, if they're able to get Eze, that's going to completely change their team, especially with Maddison out for probably the whole year. Spurs has a very good team, and obviously they're not going to finish 17th last season. I think Thomas Frank is going to organize them very well, and they're going to be very competitive. So I think I know they are going to be playing Champions League. I think next season they're going to be playing Europa, so I'm going to keep them in 6th place. Now, the next positions, I'm going to give you my 5th place, my 4th place, and my 3rd place, my 2nd and 1st for that. Make it a little bit dramatic. Now, I'm going to put Man United, my club, in 5th place. I know people are gonna think I'm crazy. Shout out Kanye. You guys finished 15th season. How do you expect to just jump 10 places and be in the top 5? No, that's ridiculous. Let me tell you one thing. One thing only. Ruben Amorim is the truth. No, maybe I'm just a hopeful United fan, but I do think we've made good signings, and I do think if we're able to get Baleba over the line and solidify that midfield, I think it's gonna be very, very good for us. I think players like Mason Mount he's gonna have a resurgence year. Mark my words. This year, Mason Mount is gonna be the year of Mason Mount. I think Amorim loves how he plays, especially I think he's a player suited for his system, and also he's gonna have competition with Mbeumo, Cunha, and Bruno for those positions. You need quality all over the pitch in order to compete in the league. Look at teams like City, Arsenal, Liverpool. They have almost a starting 11 on the bench. That's what you need. And I'm happy with the signings that United have made. I think they're moving in the right direction. If we're able to get Baleba over the line, we might get fourth. We might get fourth. You never really know with United. Like, I can see us finishing 8th, 7th, 9th, and also I can also see us finishing like 4th or 5th. I don't think top 3. I think that's pushing it. But anywhere between 4th and 8th. But I'm gonna be an optimist, and I'm gonna say 5th place. Okay, in 4th place, I have Chelsea. Now, Chelsea is one of those teams that may surprise a lot of people. I know I've seen a handful of videos of people saying Chelsea are going to win the league. And honestly, I can see that happening. They had a great FIFA Club World Cup. They smacked PSG, and nobody expected that. They have a very good squad. They invested well. Cole Palmer, he just keeps on getting better and better. I think the addition of João Pedro is going to be very vital for them to have a very good number 9 up top. And also having Liam Delap, they can rotate. They can play 2 up front. They can play 2 up front if they wanted to, but having 2 quality young strikers is great for Chelsea. Definitely better than having Jackson or Borja off the bench. I think the one thing Chelsea needed to solidify before the end of the window is probably maybe another center back, or there's been reports of a goalkeeper. But I think if they were to get another center back, I know people like to make fun and me included of how many signings Chelsea made, but I think they've invested well. I think this season will prove that they're getting back to the level of being able to win the Premier League. I think they have all the ingredients to do that. I think they might just be a couple of years away. So I'm going to put Chelsea in 4th place. Now in 3rd place, I have Manchester City. I don't want to talk about too much about City. No, I'm just kidding. But City is, as a United fan, I am kind of jealous of the signings that City have made. I think getting Ryan Cherki and Tijani Reinders is two of the most exciting players in Europe, and be able to bring them and be on the same squad, I think that's a match made in heaven. Today they just give Cherki the number 10. I think that's going to be really cool. Obviously, seeing him last season, you can tell he has so much quality. He's so young too, so raw, and I think that's going to be really cool to see in the Premier League. I do think a very important part of City's success this season, and they finished 3rd last season as well, but this is going to be a more convincing 3rd place finish. They're going to have a healthy Rodri, and I think Erling Haaland is going to have a resurgence year. Last season he was injured, so I think this season he's going to come back, score his 30 goals, and yeah, City's going to be a dangerous team. I expect them to go farther in the Champions League than I do in the league, just because I think these 2 other teams are just a little bit better than them in a league format. But they have an exciting team. I think like Marmoush in a full season, going to be very good as well. That's going to be look out for him. He's going to be very good as well. Time for the end of the video, almost the end of the video. I don't know how long I'm going to make this. We'll see. I've been recording for like 40 minutes. This is the most I've recorded for so far. Just yapping, honestly. But time to tell you guys who I have in 2nd and who's going to win the Premier League. Now in 2nd place, I got, drum roll, the mighty Arsenal. Shoot me, Arsenal fans. Please, don't, please. Arsenal, they're getting 2nd again, 4th in a row. Honestly, man, I hate to say it, I do think they can win the Premier League, and they have a very good squad. I know Arsenal fans say, "Oh, we need a striker. And they got Gyökeres, and I think that's a great purchase for them. I think he's gonna bang in all the goals. Mikel Merino was banging in goals, and he's a CDM. You know, they had Kai Havertz up there, and he had a good GA when he was up there. I think having a goal getter, prolific strikers in Europe over the last 2 seasons, it's just what they needed. Also, they have a good squad. They have so much quality, and I think the likes of bringing in Zubomendi, I think he's going to be very good. Norgard, he's a good rotational piece. Madueke is also a pretty good buy, giving some healthy competition to Martinelli. I think Arsenal have a very good squad. I can see them doing well in the Champions League once again. I just I don't know, man. Maybe it's because of the last 3 seasons, but can you blame me? Can you blame me? I think no, but I just don't think they're better than Liverpool, so I'm gonna put them second. And for my champions, unfortunately, for the second year in a row, I have Liverpool. Now, as a United fan, this hurts me to say, but I do think Liverpool have the best squad in the league. Reinvested into the squad very well. You know, losing Trent, but bringing in Frimpong right away. Bringing in Kirk is one of the most exciting and solid fullbacks in the Prem. There's links to Mark Guehi. I think that they sign him will be very vital with Virgil van Dijk, you know, on his last sort of legs, and Konate maybe looming over leaving the club next season. They just signed they also signed a young center back from Parma, an Italian lad. Very young, but I think it's he's not gonna get much playing time. I think him is to learn under Konate and Van Dijk, and then eventually ease his way in. So I think that's a smart purchase. Obviously, the main two being Ekitike and Florian Wirtz. That I can't believe I forgot his name. Those two, even in the Community Shield, they showed glimpses of quality, and obviously they didn't end up winning the game, but I think over a league season, they're going to be very, very good for them, especially Ekitike. I think Ekitike is going to be very good. I think people are going to sleep on him this season. I think he's going to bag in a good 15 Premier League goals, and obviously you have the king, Mo Salah, on the right. How can you deny him? And I feel like he's almost getting better with age. Like I said, I think Liverpool have the best squad. I think Wirtz is going to shine this season. He's going to show the whole world why Liverpool paid that amount for him. And if they get Alexander Isak, oh man, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. You're going to win the league, but if they get Isak, they're for sure winning the league. So there you have it. Those are my Premier League predictions for the 2025-2026 season. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.